I'd now like you all to join me in welcoming my good friend and colleague, Adam Zimmerman, to the stage. Adam is the president and CEO of Craft 3 and will present the 2017 Gramlich Award for Responsible Finance to John Berdes.
Hey, I'm already kind of a wreck, I apologize. I'll try to do this. So in June 2016, Craft 3 founder and CEO John Berdes lost a tragically short fight with cancer. John was a rare visionary who committed his entire life to building just and equitable communities. What John has left in his wake is a strong organization that will be his lasting legacy. Craft 3 has become an institution of reach, capacity, and consequence. We are what we are today because John was strong, he was determined, he was deeply thoughtful, and he was frequently brilliant. He was an amazing colleague, a mentor, a treasured friend, and a personal compass for many. And we're lucky enough to have a little bit of footage of John sharing his work. So I'd like you to join me in watching a little bit of John Berdes.
Got it. Mark.
You really do that?
We're going to start with an easy question, a softball question, as they say.
Okay.
What is Craft 3?
That's not a softball question. Craft 3 is a organization that exists to deliver capital to those people and communities that have a hard time getting at it. We get up in the morning to get them the capital they need to change their communities and their lives. You know, I came to Craft 3 because I'd spent my career working in community capital, alternative capital, social capital, all on the sort of side of economic and community development, and had experienced firsthand how low-income communities, urban and rural, feel that environmental concerns were relevant to their lives. And what the concept of Craft 3 offered was a way of doing business, a way of living in place that didn't make a zero-sum game or a win-lose choice, that we posited that development and conservation were in fact possible, that working healthy landscapes could support many, many people for a long time to come. So the opportunity to do what I had done for 20 years in an organization that was thinking broadly about the link between ecological poverty and human poverty was deeply intriguing to me. Scary, but intriguing. Change is hard. At the same time, capital doesn't like change. Innovation represents risk, and most capital markets avoid risk at all costs. Craft 3 underwrites risk and takes reasonable risks with entrepreneurs and other organizations and helps finance that process of change by being welcoming to risk. In the process of assessing risk, we look at all the same things any investor does. Because we're Craft 3, we often come up with a different answer, a different responsible answer, which is yes. You know, our what we really, really do well is capital. Capital is as something good for people in a community. But our core competence is risk management, our ability to take and manage risk, that 99% success ratio. That's the engine for using capital as a change agent. Craft 3 measures the outcomes of our work We believe a loan is just an output. It's a gizmo. It's a transaction. But if we're thoughtful, strategic, intimate with the places and people we do business with, that we can create outcomes from that output. Those outcomes are all about resilience. If you can unleash the energy of an entrepreneur with capital and guidance and friendship, which is sort of our way, they can accomplish so much. That this business model, this way of delivering capital as a social business enterprise, can, over time, drive positive change. And that's what I'm most proud of.
John Berdes is unlike anyone I've ever met. I want to recognize the immensity of losing our people. Not necessarily losing John or Linda, who, like most of you, I worked with. But as we move through our lives, we lose our colleagues, our friends, and our loved ones daily. It's the nature of our time on this earth. And as monumental as these moments are for both the dying and those who live on, we do continue, we do persevere, and we do carry out the work that is to be done. But we do lose ever so slowly our connection with those who have passed. That's why it's an enormous privilege to stand here nearly a year and a half after losing John and think about him with you all, his friends, and his sister Madeline. I'd like to thank OFN, Lisa, Keith, and the award committee for recognizing that and bestowing this honor. So, of course, John would hate this. One of his favorite lines was, "It's amazing what you can get done if you don't care who gets the credit." Craft 3's marketing effort for so long was akin to, hey, let's hide this really cool loan fund under a rock at low tide and wait for some curious kid to find us. But we couldn't be that way anymore, and John recognized that, and he set us on a path towards increased visibility, stronger partnerships, more willingness to jump into the pool, even when we didn't necessarily know how to swim. When I thought about nominating John for this award, he and I had an argument about it. In my head, he said, "Adam, I really, really despise the idea of public recognition for my work of any sort." And I said, "Hey, John, lots of people love you. They miss you. And well, you're gone. And for once, I win." John was an iconoclast, as authentic as they come. Many of you knew him and knew that he had a brilliant streak, an ornery streak, a wry wit, and a giant, giant heart. No organization, no movement can survive without its iconoclasts. Innovators who upturn conventional wisdom and manage to achieve what others deem impossible. John brought an incredible sense of urgency to the need to blend work in low-income communities with access to capital and environmental conservation. His power for innovation, pushing the boundaries of what could be done with community capital, was legendary. From rural financing of manufacturing to providing support for millennials of color to wetland banks and septic tanks, he constantly had Craft 3 on the edge of what was possible. He was at the forefront of finding new ways to measure the results of our work and talk about what we now call impact capital. And the concept of metrics and feedback loops, those were part of his daily language. As he wanted, Craft 3 and so many others reacted to his loss with good stories, tears, and laughter, and then got back to work. And I would have thrown a 4-letter word in there, and Linda would have hated it. But he's in the bones of Craft 3, and I know his advice rings in the heads of CDFIs across the country. And I know there is a cohort, larger than I know, that has embedded John's relentless quest for attaching our capital to the deepest impact, to creating resilient communities, urban and rural. I like to think this group is committed in their own ways to carrying on his legacy. Thank you, OFN, for giving John this chance to shine. We miss him dearly. And thanks to all of you for learning a little bit about this man who meant so much to me and many others. So now I'd like to introduce John's sister, Madeline, who came out from the West Coast.
Oh, hi. I am John's youngest sister. He has 2 older sisters, Celia and Beth. And we decided a long time ago, being surrounded by so many feisty females in such an early age, from such an early age, that gave him an unfair advantage in the world of opportunity finance. Unfortunately, not in the world of fashion, where we failed him miserably. He was a thoughtful, caring, generous brother, traits with which he brought to the world of finance. He was dedicated, demanding, passionate, and devoted to Craft 3. It brought him great satisfaction to watch his version of Craft 3's potential actually become a very successful reality. And though his life was cut short, his life's work, his legacy lives on and woven into the fabric of Craft 3. So I and my entire family, which will include my parents who are grinning ear to ear up in heaven, very much the proud papa and mama, we accept the Ned Gramlich Award from the Opportunity Finance Network in my brother's honor. He would have wanted to share this honor with his colleagues and co-workers, especially with co-founder Mike Dickerson, who is hiding somewhere in Seattle. And who, by the way, is my newly adopted big brother. So, in John's own words, come on, let's go. You're late. I love you. And thank you.
Thank you, Adam and Madeline. And thank all of you for helping us recognize Linda and John. As you can tell, they were both friends, mentors, and inspirations to so many of us. Their legacy will live on in the strength of CDFIs that they have supported, the vitality of the communities they have served, and the hearts of all those who knew and loved them. Thank you again, and please enjoy the rest of the conference.